Tropical islands are some of the most popular places to visit for those who are looking for the perfect, relaxing vacation. However, many of these islands are under threat of sinking. That's right, sinking. Thanks to things like rising sea levels, coastal soil erosion, and weather patterns that have become incredibly severe and unpredictable over the years, some of these low-lying islands run the risk of disappearing into the ocean sometime in the next 30 years. So, since time is working against us, let's skip the whole bucket list thing and start making plans to visit soon. From entire nations to tropical retreats, here are 5 islands that are slowly sinking. One argument that has become increasingly political over the last few years has been that of climate change. Some say that it is made up in order to push for more green energy alternatives. Others say that people are ignoring scientific facts in order to further their own political agendas. But, regardless of which side you fall on, there is no doubt that sea levels are rising around the world. With this rise comes the loss of many tropical islands. The Solomon Islands have always been a popular tourist destination, not only because it offers a great place to experience tropical wildlife, but it also serves as an area of significance during World War II. However, since that time, the Solomon Islands have already lost 5 of their atolls to rising sea levels and coastal erosion. Additionally, there are currently about 6 more that are in jeopardy of completely disappearing. Here, water levels are rising at a rate almost 3 times faster than the global average. Plans from various government entities have been put into place to try and combat this problem. However, there exists this lingering fear that things may be happening a little too late. But the disappearing atolls are actually the least of the country's problems. If things continue to move in the same direction, there exists a real possibility that the entire island chain could disappear forever. Anyone who knows anything about amazing tropical vacation destinations will surely know of the Maldives. At one point, it was the #1 spot in the world for newlyweds to go on their honeymoons. This chain of islands sports some of the most stunning white sand beaches and clear blue water in the entire world. However, what some fail to realize is that many of the tropical islands in the Maldives are at risk of being swallowed by the sea. The majority of these coral islands are only 6 feet or roughly 2 meters above sea level, putting them at very high risk for sinking as sea levels rise. There have already been a few islands that have seen much of their shores washed away from massive erosion. The government has been working hard against the rapid loss of shoreline, bleached coral reefs, and incredibly violent storm surges. Some of these countermeasures could drastically slow and hopefully stop the submersion. However, some researchers fear that the island nation is too far gone to be saved. As a matter of fact, if current trends continue, they say that the Maldives could be underwater by the end of the 21st century. So, be sure you schedule a trip to go as soon as you can, because if the ocean has its way, there's no telling how long the islands will remain as serene as it is now. It'll go from a tropical paradise to a weathered group of islands. Then, it'll just go away. Sitting in the Pacific Ocean, about halfway between Australia and Hawaii, is the island country of Kiribati. It is a very seldom traveled tourist destination that is rich with history and culture similar to that of New Zealand. However, in recent years there has been a mass exodus of the island's population to other countries. It is out of caution as they see what is happening to their home. They know what is coming, and they will not be waiting around to see what happens. Kiribati is located in a place where the ocean levels are rising at over 4 times faster than the global average. Massive tidal surges have been working their way further inland, eroding anything in its path and threatening to break down the island's foundation. It is made many times worse by the fact that many of the coral and reef isles only sit about 6 feet above the water. So things definitely aren't looking good for them. The locals' biggest fear is that by moving away from their native home, their cultures will be lost. The residents are famous for their dances and celebrations, but sadly, those concerns only come second to surviving the impending doom. The ocean is relentless and will not wait for anything or anybody. However, tourism is still open on the island. People still travel from all over the world to experience bone fishing and diving around a number of World War II shipwrecks that exist just near the island's shores. Island life is a different kind of life that not everyone is ready to live. Simple things like jobs and amenities are limited and sometimes very hard to come by. Now take all of that and multiply it by about 100. That's what life is like for many island nations in the Pacific, including Tuvalu. To make matters worse, Tuvalu is also a country that is under impending doom of being washed away by the ocean. However, as opposed to other islands that are disappearing, many of the problems are compounded much more as the island disappears, and this has to do with the lack of one very important resource: fresh water. That's right, on this island there are no sources of fresh water other than whatever falls from the sky. There are no streams or natural springs. The islanders have to collect rainwater in order to survive. But the sea is inching its way further and further inland as each year passes, forcing residents to either move further inland or abandon their country altogether. But moving inland is only a temporary solution, as the majority of the island is only 14.8 feet or 4.2 meters above sea level, with some low-lying areas being only 9.8 feet or roughly 3 meters. Everything will eventually wash away, leaving nothing but a large sandbar. But as the island's land area decreases, population density will increase. With that comes less area to collect rainwater, but still just as many people who will need it. In the end, the only real hope that the residents have is to flee to somewhere else while they still can. Located about 1,000 miles north-northeast from Papua New Guinea in the Pacific Ocean lies the Federated States of Micronesia, a country that is comprised of more than 600 islands. Made up of 4 island states, Pohnpei, Kosrae, Chuuk, and Yap, it is known for its palm-shaded beaches, wreck-filled dives, and ancient ruins. But there is another thing going on for which the island is earning a title. Many of the islands are disappearing at an incredible rate. Only a fraction of the various islands are actually inhabited. But all of the islands share one big thing in common: they do not sit very high above sea level. And this is a huge problem when you talk about the levels of the oceans rising. As a matter of fact, should the water levels rise a mere 3.3 feet, nearly all of the 600 islands would be rendered uninhabitable. On average, the sea levels rise a fraction of an inch every year. But in this area of the Pacific, levels have been known to rise much faster, sometimes at rates of nearly half an inch per year. There are already signs of sinking on the islands. The country has a cemetery that's already started sinking into the sea. Gravestones to the west of the island of Majuro can be seen poking out of the waves, along with discarded coconut husks and palm leaves. Also, as the salt water moves in, it is tainting the soil, killing off crops in villages and towns. As this nation is home to over 102,000 people, this problem obviously makes life all the more difficult. No matter what your views are of rising sea levels, the observable evidence is undeniable. Land is disappearing. Crops are being killed. Coral reefs are dying. Hopefully, these islands can survive long enough for a solution to be presented. To see another video just like this one, be sure to click the link on screen now. And with that, thanks for watching, and be sure to tune in next time.